Well, it's that time again. Hello, everybody. It is time for your daily dose of reason. It's your time for your daily dose of the Tao. Today's the Tao of the day is brought to you by me, as it always is. How is everybody doing? And who's here? Catherine, my buddy, my birthday buddy, Catherine. She is coming in. So, little fun fact: Catherine and I have the same birthday.
I know. King of
Fun
Hearts.
fact. Such a fun fact. This is a fun wisdom fact.
I know. We should have fun wisdom fact days.
Yes, we should. We should just like we need to find facts out and then just display them on a public platform.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
wonderful. It's so good to see you. How are you doing today? Having a good morning?
Well, for some reason my downstairs heater isn't working and I did all my tricks, but it's not working.
Oh, is it cold where you're at? I don't even know where you're at.
I'm in Tennessee. It's not
Oh,
freeze. I mean, it did freeze last night. So I was
okay.
going to say it's not freezing cold, but that would have been a lie because it literally
Yeah, because it literally was freezing cold.
yeah.
In Tennessee, whereabouts in Tennessee? I was in Tennessee, and one of the things that I remember about Tennessee is that your bread just sucks. Like I did not have a one single good piece of bread while I was in Tennessee. Now I'm from Chicago, so like I have a different standard. But do you,
I don't like bread.
oh, that's because you live in Tennessee. I don't
Well, but
eat
I'm
bread.
not from Tennessee.
Okay, where are you from?
I mean, if you don't notice, I don't say Tennessee.
I had
I
a feeling
say,
you were an like you were a transplant, but
yeah, everybody is here in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Nashville area, at least.
Oh, well, music capital of the world there.
Yeah, I don't know music people. I don't hang out with music people.
Look at you, just bucking the trends. You and me. Well, you go June 30th, right? Like
No,
and what's it called? Like contrarians.
that's right. I'm very much a contrarian.
Me too. Me too.
Hardcore. Have
I
always
love.
been.
Yeah, love just being like just for the sake of being a contrarian.
Yes, I totally am.
Man, so much. Do you have a number? What I'm gonna do is I'm not. You're gonna give me a number. I'm gonna pick another number just to be contrarian.
Yeah, really.
I kid.
I'm getting 12, but I also have been getting 23 the last few days.
20. I'm gonna do 23 because you. It's been holding on to you, and so we're gonna get rid of it. Here you go. Express yourself completely, then be quiet. Be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao and you can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss and you can accept it completely. Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses and everything will fall into place.
Intuition.
Yeah, so like this is good. I love how this starts, express yourself completely, then be quiet. And I have a problem with that. Like sometimes I express myself completely and then I want to go back and make sure everybody understood what I expressed myself as.
I've never noticed that about you. Ha ha ha.
I was gonna say, like, you're pulling my leg.
That's
You're
right.
not being nice. That's what's happening. No, yeah, like sometimes I want to like repeat myself, but I really wish I could embody this more.
Do you find that to be true more if someone just stays quiet and just looks at you instead
Mm,
of agrees or says something else in response?
well, I don't like. I think in the past I was more. I would act from a place of response. I think now, like I respond to what is being responded, and so if no one says anything, sometimes is I know that this happens where I can say something and I feel very good about what I've said. Like I've expressed myself completely. And
Hmm.
if they don't say anything, I can just sit and I can just Be like, you are processing what I just gave you. You are
Hmm.
processing that information that I sent without having doubt that I have expressed myself completely.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But I think that comes with awareness.
Yes. And I
Hmm.
think when we talk about nature, it really brings us into the next, like, be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there's only rain. When the clouds pass, the sun shines through. And like the thing is that awareness of what you are being at this moment. Are you being affected by what is happening on the other side of the table? Because if you are not like the forces of nature, where it will just do what it does regardless of what your response is.
It's interesting because I get kind of caught up. I mean, there's a moment where I'm like, well, I mean, when it rains, it does blow, and sometimes it's raining and blowing and there's sunshine. Is that terrible? And then as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how sometimes when I'm like, you're driving like in the prairies and you are in beautiful sunshine, but you can see the rain far away.
Yeah.
And I thought about how often it is that you begin to worry about, if it rains and the blowing or the blowing is going to be rain. So I got kind of caught up in that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it it's interesting, because especially in our world, like, this was written a long time ago. You never know. Maybe it did only rain then. Now, like, global warming bringing up all these things, like everything's coming together at the same time. Like Lao Tzu didn't know that. Didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been places where it's sunny and
It's
it's raining.
yeah, and like there's hail, right? There's rain and hail and wind and broken trees and yeah. So, but I think the analogy of, like, are you being affected by? Are you responding from your true essence of connection, or is it that, you know are you focused on not only what you're trying to say, but how it's being responded to as well?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I would like to change what it says, but like the wind, its purpose is only to blow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I like that. So the wind, yeah. When it blows, there is only wind. So maybe we can say, be like the forces of nature, where wind, its purpose is to blow,
Right.
rain, purpose is to rain.
Yes.
And the sun can shine through when, because the cloud's purpose is to block the sun, or to
Yeah.
be in space. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
I can that fits really nicely, and I do like that. Look at you, like getting one over on Stephen Mitchell. Like,
Yeah.
and what I would like to do, actually, um, let's see, what do we got? We got 6 minutes. Let's continue.
Yes.
I would like to, if nobody else comes on after this, I'm going to read a different translation of this and see what it says. That way
Ooh,
we can get
that would. I'm,
another yeah, another look. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely. Okay, that's pretty simple. Like,
yeah.
open yourself to it, and you can embody it. If you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight, and you can use it completely. So the Tao is a abstract sort of understanding, but insight is something that I think you talk about a lot, and so I'd love to hear how have you been able to open yourself to insight?
Well, that's so interesting because my podcast today and what I talked about a little bit last night was the 4 steps of intuition. And the first step is you have to be open to intuition,
Mm.
because the next step is being expecting intuition to just be there. And then the next one is to trust. And then the next one is to act. And you have to be open to do any of those. You can't switch them up in order. Because if you're not open to it, you can't act upon it. If you're not open to it, you can't trust it. And if you're not open to it, you can't expect it. So it's like that first step is allowing yourself to be open to the idea even that intuition exists, how it can behave, how it can come to you, and that it is something that you can expect, you can trust, and you can act upon.
Right. And you'll be guided through that, through your insight.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
well, and some people use insight as a word for intuition.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
some people use insight for, I mean, I don't know. People use words for different things. So, I mean, just we have to, I always like to say, don't let words get in the way of a good conversation. Like,
Exactly.
just understand what I'm trying to say. Connect with me energetically, and then we can come together. And that's where problems come in with contracts and stuff, because like who's defining the words that are in the contract, and
Don't get me started.
communicating
Lots
gets
to say on that.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So if you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss, and you can accept it completely. And this is the one that has always tugged my heart the deepest, because loss is something we will all have to face. And when I was struggling with my MS and I lost my ability to walk, I was able to accept the fact that I might be crippled, right? Like I might be in a state where I wouldn't be able to walk. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was able to accept that, I was able to overcome it. But I also understand that I might not overcome it for the rest of my life. Like I overcame it at that moment. Now, every day, I have to continue to accept the fact that this could be lost in my life.
Yeah, this is a very confusing thing when it comes to like manifesting or law of attraction. And this is where people get really caught up because they think it's about just focusing and being positive all the time.
Oh, yeah, no. Uh-uh.
And it's not. And so you have to, your emotions, if your emotions are of fear, but you're like, I'm just going to think positive. I'm just going to think positive. But your emotions are in this fear state. You have anxiety in the background.
So
You're
beautiful.
fearful
Yeah.
of the cost. Then you're not working through the system. You're not working through it and accepting it, because until you can go, okay, I have fear. How do I move through this fear so that I can not just be positive thinking, but then my feelings and my emotions and my thoughts and how I'm seeing things all match up?
Right. Because it's not like I always look at it as like everything is neutral. Loss is neutral, gain is neutral, you manifesting shit is neutral. And if you get high from it, well, then you're living under the influence of the manifestation. And the manifestation isn't anything but what you have been able to accomplish. And if you sit there and try and take a lot of credit for it, then you're also going to have that fear of being able to, when something goes wrong, you're going to own that thing. And the thing is like holding on to this idea that like you can accept loss, and like it's not a loss, right?
Yeah.
It is a neutral. And I know like it is not a negative, right? Like you can accept loss completely because it's not a negative thing.
Right. And I think one thing that's important to say is that you can accept loss because you're not ignoring it.
Right. You can witness it, you can see it, you can face it, you can be it. And that's
Yeah.
what, and it's a neutral thing. It's not a negative thing. It is a thing where you are present with it.
Mm-hmm.
Open
Acknowledging it.
yourself. Right. Exactly. Because if you hide it in your subconscious, you're hiding it, and you are actually giving it more energy. Because not only are you giving it energy of it in itself, but then you're giving it energy to actively hide it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Open yourself to the Tao, then trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place.
Yes. And that's trust your intuition, really.
Right. And
Because that's
and
your
and
natural.
that's what?
That's your natural response.
Right. Oh, man. You're going to be ending shortly, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read another translation of this once you drop off. It is older, but
Maybe
it's probably going to be even more cryptic. But we'll see how
old,
we.
maybe wiser. Get it?
Catherine, it's always so wonderful to share the Tao with you and everything else. Like I was digging our Cards of Destiny the other day,
Oh,
and she dropped off in the middle of that. But she did some things on Cards of Destiny. Definitely follow Catherine. She's doing some really great stuff, doing a lot with intuition. So the fact that we pulled 23 and 23 was as it was, is no mistake. It's all so magical. Okay, so I'm going to be reading the Isabel Mears translation from, I believe, 1919. So this is going to be a little more cryptic. The language is probably going to be a little older, but I do want to read it because because we had that issue with the wind and the rain thing earlier. So how Isabel Mears responds to this translation, how she translates this is, with few words, affirm the self. So I'm going to kind of put these side by side for us. So she says, with few words, affirm the self. And Stephen Mitchell says, express yourself completely and then be quiet. Right? Like, with few words, affirm the self. Like, just say what you need to say and, be in that with few words. A great wind does not blow all morning. A heavy wind does not continue all day. Why is this so? It is because of the interrelations of heaven and earth. So Isabel Mears definitely does this heaven and earth sort of work more than Stephen Mitchell. Of course, this is 80 years difference, a 60 years difference. So Stephen Mitchell says, be like the forces of nature. When it blows, there is only wind. When it rains, there is only rain. When a cloud passes, the sun shines through. And Isabel Mears says, a great wind doesn't blow all morning. A heavy wind doesn't continue all night. Why is this so? It is because the interrelations of heaven and earth. This is why I picked Stephen Mitchell, because it's hard to understand Isabel Mears. And Isabel Mears is she's not the only person that's translated this. There's so many other people that have as well. We're talking about the Tao 23. If you are out there and want to come in and pick a number between 1 and 81, I would love to embrace that with you and walk through it. It is because of the interrelations of heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things last long, how much less can man? So if heaven and earth can't make the wind blow forever, right, like all the time, all night, all day, then how much can man do? And I try and relate this back to Stephen Mitchell and what he's saying is like, be like the forces of nature. And then here, Isabel Mears is saying, if heaven and earth can't do this thing forever, then how much can you do? How much is there for you to embrace? I got Andy coming on. I'm going to finish reading this just outright, and then we'll pull Andy up. How much does command do? Therefore, he who follows the service of the Tao is at one with the Tao. He who is virtuous is at one with the Tao. He who fails is at one with failure. He who is at one with the Tao. The Tao also The Tao shall also claim him. He who is at one with the Tao. Like, see, Isabel Mears, she did it. I can't even complete reading this. Andy, how are you?
I'm just enjoying listening to you read this.
Yes, this
Because
is.
you're like, well, this is
I'm
why I
like,
go with Stephen Mitchell, because,
yeah.
good
Stephen Mitchell, like,
morning.
absolute best translation that I have come across. I think he translated it in the 80s. It's, it was my time.
well, I'm a child of the
Andy, it
80s.
is so good to talk with you. I
I
haven't
know,
talked to
I'm
you on
excited.
Wisdom in a minute,
I
and
know.
you're awesome. So I would love to dive into a Tao with you.
I would love number 8.
Number 8. This is because I am a Cancer. I love this one because it talks about water, and so the supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself, and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. Oh man. Oh man.
Oh man. I
So
Go
so
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I love how that ends, right? Like this idea that everyone will respect you when you're not comparing and competing. And so much of our society right now is based on like compete and you'll get respect, right?
Oh,
Like
Western society at least, and I think
yes, you're right. Like you and I are both here in the States, and so our like you and I our surroundings here in the States are so much about like compare and then compete, and that's how you gain respect.
And you know what? It's so unnatural, and I think that that's really important for us to talk about because it's I there is a reason that Western society is this way and that we are in it, right? So that we can take these ancient philosophies, Eastern philosophies, and say, hey, this kind of makes sense. So when you think about something as powerful of a force as water, which we're so naive to think that those of us who live on land are really all that special, since most of the earth is actually covered in water, and the nature of water itself, the way that it moves and it flows and it moves as just this unified beautiful force. Almost, you can't contain it, you can't restrict it, and it's not individual. It longs to be part of itself. It always will return to itself. I think of like Star Trek Deep Space Nine and the Dominion. Like, there are no molecules of water that can exist autonomously. They want to return to their source, and they will return to their source. They will find a way. They will evaporate. They will end up back in the ocean. That's how it is. And we as humans have this interconnectedness as well, but we don't want to return to our source. We want to stay separate. We want to have autonomy. We want to have individuality, at least here in Western society, and we want to display that
Yeah.
so viciously, like, look at me, I'm special.
Right.
And then that's where the conflict comes in, because anytime you introduce that separation, all of a sudden that fulfillment that you can have just by being true to that and connected to that source, that goes away. You sever it with your insistence to be different from water.
That's beautiful. So we're gonna
Yeah.
go through. We're gonna try and get through this line by line.
We'll
But
do it.
I think we can. The
Hmm.
supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. I love that because like water is present, right? And
Hmm.
that's the supreme good is just present in this moment, and it's not about judgment. It's not about saying one thing is better than another. It's not like the sun is shining on the on the murderer just as much as it's shining on the child.
Hmm.
So there's no judgment in that, and that is the supreme good, right? The supreme good is just like I can nourish this space without judgment.
And the supreme good is also, from what I see, is also balance. Like, what we as humans and individuals and laws and society have placed to determine what's good and bad, that's not what the supreme good sees as
No,
good
not
as bad.
yeah.
That's just what's occurring and happening. It's
Yeah, that's
part
just
of,
the manifestation.
yeah. Hmm.
It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. This is a line that has always like perplexed me a little bit. I mean, I get it, but what are your thoughts on it?
The low places that people disdain. Well, what is that? Let's What do we feel like when you hear that line? What is your gut feeling about a low place that people disdain?
Well, and I know that you don't have a history with the religion things, but
I
we
don't
talk about
know.
there is a conversation in the Roman Catholic tradition and probably the Christian tradition as well that talks about the valley, right? The valley of darkness. Though I walk through the valley of darkness, I fear no evil. And this is not like I quote that not because like I'm so religious, but like I was raised, like I was an altar boy and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid. So it was which means like I dressed in a robe and I walked up the aisle with a cross.
Oh,
so
that's
so
adorable.
so I know these phrases and things. So being in the valley is a dark place because it stays colder down there. It's foggy. You can't see. Like when you look at like a landscape, it is in those dips in the landscape where the darkness is, where it's wet, where it's
Yeah.
murky. And I think that is like, I think people, when, you look at the horror movies and stuff, when people want to be safe, what do? They go upstairs. They go up. They're always going up. And that is a place of safety, up.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. And actually, I was going to crack a joke and say that the Roman Catholic Church is probably one of those dark places that people disdain. Sorry, it was definitely a bad joke. Bad joke. But let's see. I yeah, people do want to go up because what do you feel like when you're and you? We always use this terminology like my lows, and
Right.
thinking of and especially both of us come having a history with addiction. Have you ever described that time as a low time, a dark time? I mean, I know I have personally. I don't, and I know a lot of other people who have as well. And to now, I would say that just looking at that and looking at other people that are in that period, to not place so much judgment and to just say, this is just a part of that individual's path, journey, karma.
Yeah. And that is, and so it says here, like, it is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. The Tao settles, right? It settles into those places,
Mm-hmm.
and it can exist there. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then we move on to these different ways of doing that. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. What out of those, which one rings most to you at this moment?
Well, probably just because I've been doing a lot of work that I hate. Do what you enjoy. And the reason that I say that is because anytime that you do something that you don't, you're out of alignment. The same with like your family. If you are all consumed with what high school your son is going to go to and you want to get him into the best private high school or whatever. Where are you living? You're living in the future. And you're bypassing all of these days of being present. I mean, all of these things are kind of the same thing in that
Mm-hmm.
let's not try so much for an outcome. Like, let's not try so much for status at a career. Let's not try so much to have power in government. Because in trying that, we're not here in what's happening with the people that we want to serve, that we want to love, that we want to be connected with. We're skipping all of that. We're skipping all of that if we're not just here. So the idea of read it to me one more time.
In dwelling, live close to the ground. In
Mm,
thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. That's the one that I always really kind of attach to. That
mm.
in conflict, be fair and generous, because we so often in conflict want to cut our opponent down and win. But if we can be fair and allow ourselves to even bolster the person who we are in conflict with, like that helps us understand ourselves as well as the other person even
And
more.
I would love to jump on that just quick because I had a conflict recently with somebody, and he was I might have talked about this on here because I talked about it a lot. He was a fucking dick and disrespected me to high hell. Like, I mean, like, awful. And I approached it kind of with this idea, like these ideas that I got from the Tao of just okay, I'm just going to give up everything. And I'm just going to say, I know that I am this way and I behave in certain ways and my intentions are good. And I think that you make them mean something that's disempowering to you. And that just opened up so much for this other person. He started telling me about a lawsuit he was in. He started telling me about, being overworked, not sleeping, all of these things that I wouldn't have gotten if I went at it with, I'm right, you're awful, fuck you,
Right.
you disrespected me. That never gets anyone anywhere.
No.
And as you're saying, we want to be headstrong and we want to, all that stuff in conflict, and that
Yeah,
perpetuates it
absolutely.
so much.
So like that, so that be fair and generous in conflict. That's the one that always
Mhm.
like, so I remember someone once asked me, when's the last time someone got mad at you? And I was like, oh, well, I forgot something about 2 years ago that and they were like, I can't believe, like, it's not normal for people not to get mad at you. And I was just like, no, it is normal for people not to get mad at me. Like, I'm not doing anything to, purposely avoid people getting mad at me, but it it's it is through the fact that, like, my conflict doesn't necessarily need anger or madness. It can just be fair and generous, and now we're communicating rather than conflicting.
Mhm.
In government, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. And I think, all of that really comes down to, like, this is how you nourish all things. Right? This is how it, like, the supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. And if in your dwelling you live close to the ground, and I don't necessarily know what that means. Maybe that means in a humble way. In thinking, keep to the simple. You're not trying to be complex and be crafty. I mean, Catherine and I have talked a lot about that term, which is in the Tao, crafty, being crafty. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. And all this is about kind of revolving around being like the supreme good. And then when we come to the last three lines, when you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you.
Mhm.
Now, you can embody the supreme good. It doesn't mean you're doing like what always looks like good. It just means you are keeping in mind um, the the humbleness of being.
I'm just being quiet. I don't have much to say on that because I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm not, I never really had much desire to do rather than be. So it resonates very deeply with me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really wonderful one, and I hope this is something that can carry you through your day, and keep it in mind, and remember, in dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy, and in family life, be completely present. Talk to you soon, Andy.
See,
Yep. Bella AQ is joining us now. Andy, thank you so much for that. 8 was beautiful. And looking forward to doing another one. Bella, how are you? How can I, like, name? I don't. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
Do you prefer to be called Martin or
Martin
John?
is fine. Martin is fine. Yeah, Martin John is, it's a way of finding me. It's a way of seeing me. All those things. So,
Ex-
and how should I address you?
Just call me Bella.
Bella.
A-
Wonderful.
AQ is a way to identify me.
Yes, that's all it is. It is not who I am. It is just how others can identify me. And you have a beautiful accent. Where are you from?
I'm international,
Okay, well there it
and
is.
the reason I came up was you were discussing a number of things, and in fact, our quick discussion we just had about, okay, who are you? How do I place you, etc. And I really I come to your room most days, but I don't come on stage because I do enjoy your discussions.
Oh,
But
thank you.
today I was particularly felt I needed to come up because I've been spending some time reading the texts. My father encouraged us to explore.
Yeah.
And I just got interested when you were talking about wind and whether the wind blows, etc., etc. And it reminded me of the discussions I had with Wayne Dyer. I was very fortunate to have one-on-one discussions with him. And as you know, you probably don't know, but he's a proponent of the Tao.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
He's a huge fan of the Tao.
Yes, exactly. And I remember at that time, my mind was very scientific and very focus driven. And he would always say, it just is.
It's
And
truth.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
that's what nature is. It
That,
just is.
that's right.
There's no need to label, there's no need to interpret. It just is. And
There's
when
no
we,
need to understand.
yes, but even
'Cause-
if we're understanding, we're only understanding from the limit of our experiences.
absolutely. And how limited it is.
Exactly, exactly. So you one is framing the situation or of what we're looking at in the limit of our experiences. But if we think about the Tao as this creative force, which is divine and is in each of us, it's infinite. So we can't really sort of say this is the way it is. If it is infinite, it's in everything, and we are part of everything. And once we start to define it, what we're doing is that we're saying, from my experience or from so and so's experience, this is what it is, and it isn't. And he used to say the same by a spiritual leader called Tilopa, and I love it. It says, "Be open to everything, but attached to nothing." And if I could read to you his 6 words of advice, which is basically the Tao. One, don't recall. Let go of what has passed. Don't imagine. Let go of what may come. Don't think. Let go of what is happening now. Don't examine. Don't try to figure anything out. Don't control. Don't try to make anything happen. Rest. Relax right now and rest. And to me, that summarizes the Tao. And Wayne used to quote him a lot because when we communicate with each other, it's a way of connecting. Like coming up here, connecting, listening to your ideas. We are connecting. But are we connecting with the words that one is using? Are we connecting on my African lineage? Are we connecting on my Western birth and cultures or the different countries I've lived in? What are we connecting? We're connecting on something much, much more deeper than that. We're connecting with that universal intelligence that connects us. Because we're definitely not connecting culturally, although I'm used in Western terms because I was born in the West and I grew up in the West. But also, I do have African lineage and other continents' lineage. So, how are we connecting? We're connecting with that universal intelligence, which is the Tao. And when we connect to that higher self, that higher self, away from our senses of, oh yeah, she has a lineage of 3 continents and therefore this is how she should be. But when we connect to that universal intelligence, which is a highest potential, then we are connected to the Tao. And we are the Tao that exists in us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all of those things, and I so my history, like we're talking about how we connect, and the thing is we connect when we connect first with ourselves in that highest form that we can achieve at the moment. Then we are open to connect with each other, and that is
Mm-hmm,
where things like namaste and satnam come from,
mm-hmm,
right? This is where the God within me greets the God within you, sees the God within you, and
mm-hmm,
seeing you is so
mm-hmm,
much more. Like, you could come on, I can bring you on, and we can be quiet for 15 minutes, just aware of each other, and we
mm-hmm,
would communicate much more than we could if we were than we are currently. I spoke to
mm-hmm.
somebody recently, and I would love to get a number from you of the Tao if you would like to share. Um,
I've just read the 6 principles.
oh, so you're like, I'm better
And
than
then you
that,
say,
right?
I
Like,
like to
you're
connect
good.
when we're communicating.
So, I was talking to someone, and I lost it. I lost what I was going to say. I forgot. But yeah, being present and being able to connect with one another. Um, these apps like these are a manifestation of what we can do internally. And although these apps are wonderful for us to witness connection on a grand scale, that connection exists within each and every one of us without having to have an app. We can communicate, we can connect, and we can love each other in a very deep way just by tapping into that universal consciousness, that universal love that we all carry. And I can sit here and just meditate on the Tao, and 70, 80, 100,000 people can tap into that awareness at that time.
Mhm,
The world is so loud that we don't need, but we trust the manifestation because it's so physical, and we
mhm.
trust the physical so much today. But really, that universal good, that universal sense that you're speaking of, and the 6 principles, like, those are things that transcend the manifestation.
Um, you know, you mentioned about when you recovered from a particular symptom of a diagnosis, and
Oh
when
yeah.
you said that, I was touched because you know a few years back I had all these labels. I mean, obviously, obtained under having to jump very high hurdles. And
Mm.
it was so good on paper, and you'd say this, and then people would look at you, and suddenly they'll change and talk to you differently.
Yes.
And then there'll be those who will think, well, you couldn't possibly have done that because your physical characteristics don't equate. And
Mm.
on both sides, could it be yin and yang?
Mm.
People would interpret it from the experience. But I wasn't one or the other.
That's
I
right.
was just me.
Yes.
I had been by grace, it wasn't my strength, it was by grace I had managed to overcome those obstacles, but in an effort to serve. But people look at labels and they're so quick to judge according to your labels, or your articulation, or the watch you're wearing, or where you work, etc., etc., etc. But
Yeah.
here I am. You don't know anything about me apart from my intersectional experiences. Yet we're talking about the Tao. I'm learning from you.
And
I'm
I from you.
um, and we're also connecting because I'm very much interested in epigenetics, and
Me too.
there you go. So you see the levels, especially when you spoke about your symptoms. Can you see the levels in which we're connecting? And it has nothing to do with the labels. I don't know what work you do, where you went to university, what job you
If I
did.
went to university, sweetheart, you're giving me a lot of credit. I ain't going to no university.
Okay, I take that back. I was lazy. Yes, we are human. It's a work in
Absolutely.
progress. It's a work in progress. But the thing is that we're connecting, and it
Yes.
does not matter. It does not matter. And if we did more of that, we would get to know ourselves much better. And I always say free will is whether we're going to connect with our senses, which is, our five senses and the labels we carry, or we
Mm.
could connect with our higher self. That's a choice we have to make every time. Is it
You know,
difficult?
I
Sorry.
no no no. I love how you, because like you for me are showing me myself, and I for you am showing you yourself.
Hmm.
I could not have attracted you into my sphere had you not had something to show me of me.
Hmm.
And when I remember that all that I interact with is me, whether that is good or bad or however I want to label it,
Hmm.
it is all neutrally just me. And
Hmm.
to stand here and look at you with just love and admiration for showing me myself, you get to receive that love and admiration for being yourself. And that's something that we share. And we all share that at every moment. And if we can recall it, then we'd be able to be quiet in this space rather than fill it all the time.
Thank you. You couldn't have put it better. And I'm very grateful for this conversation because, life is moments in time. And to have this moment in time where one can exchange and receive is very precious.
Mm.
And I can't see you. You can only see a picture, but we know what we're communicating.
Yes. In our heart, in our minds, we are here together.
Mhm.
Oh, Bella, it has been so delightful to chat with you and to get to know what you're doing. I am now following you, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you on your platform and being able to share.
Okay. So I don't have a platform yet, um, but that's another
You,
story. But thank
that's
you so much.
that's just another label, dear. Like you
Yes.
are a platform.
Thank you so much and stay blessed.
You too. I almost said a ti también, which is Spanish for you too, but I don't know why I went there. Maybe because she's international. It's such a delight to connect with everybody here. Bella, thank you again for sharing the six principles. And yes, the Tao. And I look at the Tao and as a signpost, and I look at the Tao as a standard. It is not the end all. It is not the answer. You are the answer. And within you, you have all answers that you will need. As mentors, as people out here trying to give advice or help people, we often think Well, we got an answer for you, especially because we live in a market, right? We live in the market, and so we have to market ourselves. We have to make a name for ourselves. We have to teach. We have to get that out. But that's why I like to look at the Tao, because the Tao always says, "Teach without teaching." Because every time you try to teach, you can only teach what you can grasp. But when you can be, and you can be with yourself as that higher self, when you can be with who you are and as you are, you will teach that which is ungraspable, and others will be able to use it. They won't try to box it in. They won't try and hold on to it. They won't try to simplify it. They'll be able to embody it. And by embodying it, they will grow within themselves, excuse me. Once again, I'm Martin John. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. This is a Recover Yourself production. I love you all, and I'm so grateful for your attention and your desire. Oh, I do have someone coming on. I thought I was coming out. Oh, Catherine's coming back. Maybe she wants that other number. I don't know. Let's see what she wants. Let's see. Yeah, this could be like Mr. Rogers. Let's see who's at the door.
I know.
I wish there was like a little doorbell.
Yeah, it would be kind of funny. I was listening to your reading the other one, and I liked how Isabel, the way she described nature better. So can you sticky note maybe that section over Mitchell's?
You know, right? Like she did. Yeah, like when great wind blows, it doesn't blow all morning. Like it will stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So I think like a mix and match on that one would be good. Is just what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, and that's why I like bringing up other translations. I mean, I got hundreds of translations at my fingertips because, I'm internet savvy. But but yeah, like there's so many different translations of this that it's always nice. And Isabel Mears, she's getting cryptic as she gets through it. I can't always understand what Isabel's trying to say, but I do. I liked her beginning as well, and I even liked her
Yes.
first line with few words, affirm the self. Like that
Yes.
really kind of that like you don't like if you can do it with one word, if you can do it with no words, like affirm the self, right? Like be secure in in that self that you are.
I did too.
Yeah.
I liked that first part. And then you kind of, I didn't catch where it went from there
Yeah.
because you're like, okay,
It's going. I have
you're
no
like, I'm
idea even
kind
how
of
to read
done with
this.
this. But I think a sticky note of that version overlaid and then him finishing it might be the way to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's good because I've always had problems with his when it wins when it blows there is only wind. I'm like, well, that's not really true. I was like,
Yeah. It's
so.
like, what are you asking me? So I just thought that was interesting. So I was just pointing that out. I didn't mean to interrupt your beautiful ending, but
Oh no, that's okay. I can always like it. The nice thing about being a creative and being me is like I can just make it again. I can just make another beautiful ending. That's all.
what
Like
what is
there's
12?
no. Was it yours? That was like, no, I think it was Andy's when she was like, you can embrace loss. No, that was yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
embrace
Yeah.
loss, right? When you can embrace
Hmm.
loss like completely, it's like you didn't ruin anything. Like I embrace it. It's there. It's gone, and now I'll create another one.
What is 12, by the way? Is it a long one?
12? Let me look. I'm all set for it. No, it's very short.
Oh.
Oh, 12 is one that I really enjoy because I don't like things. And so what it says here is colors blind the eye,
Oh,
sounds deafen
yes.
the ear, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master observes the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky.
Ooh, if that's not intuition, I don't know what is.
That's right. Just like don't follow your eyes, follow your inner vision. Like cuz your eyes are going to get blinded by all of the, colors that you see on Instagram. the sounds that you hear in music and on the streets, flavors of, like, oh, so decadent and rich and da da da. It's just like, yep, but you're not. It's numbing your taste to the things that are subtle.
And sometimes, when I get when I do intuitive work for people, like, for instance, I have curtains that have a very geometric design and can, in one view, you look at it as a star. And I was doing a reading for somebody and I got star. And I'm like, well, is it because I'm looking at my curtains? And then I got the vision of, a big tin star. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Is it because I'm making that look like that with the curtains?
Right. And
And
maybe it
then,
is, but it's all connected.
well, no, but then I got I got a constellation of stars and it was clear it was the North Star.
Right.
And I'm like, nope, it's to say star. And so it just makes me think of that, of like, I was directed to look at it that way to get the word star, but then I got in my own way
Right.
of,
It is all so natural
mhm,
to, like all of that aligns, and the highest version of ourselves, as Bella mentioned, like the highest version of ourselves interprets that in the best possible way so that we can, because if you saw it as a star, but maybe you look at it and instead of a star you just think five, well, maybe it's because I'm looking at a star with 5 points, like you could describe it away, but if you get out of your way and just trust, like
yeah,
that's how I do my blind portraits. When I
yeah,
do a portrait of someone, I draw and I just trust that what I'm drawing is right.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Even if I start to doubt it, I have to convince myself again. I have to just dive back in and say, no, you are right to
yes.
do this. You don't have to know why. You are a vehicle for this to come through.
That's what I feel like this 12 is about to me.
Yeah, don't trust the things that are coming in through your five senses. Your eyes, your ears, your taste, your mind, your heart. The desires wither the heart, like that. These five things, like you want them to be open to the subtle. And
Mm-hmm.
you trust what's coming in. It says, trust your own vision, trust your inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is as open as the sky. Open your heart to everything, all of the experiences.
Yeah. The four clairs.
And back we go,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
around.
An
Beautiful.
intuition focused tap
Yes.
day.
Oh, Catherine, thank you so much for bringing 12 back in and for helping me rewrite Stephen Mitchell's Tao.
Yes. You had a book.
It's a collaborative effort. Like it's
Yes. So it's not a book you read. You read it off the internet.
yeah. I tell people all the time, if you want to reach out to me, like I can send you the link. Yeah, I have, like, there are literally hundreds of translations that I have on the Terabis website, terabis.hu. There's an English. There's just a list of English translations, probably close to 150 different translations.
Wow.
So I
Because
can
I
pass that to you
guess you
if you're.
can't put a sticky note in there then to read over
Yeah,
that.
no, I can't put a stick. I do have the version. I do have his is the Stephen Mitchell version is the one that I carry, that I pocket. It's a pocket size. I keep it with me when I meet people. I carry it, and when they there's always a moment where I'll be like, "You want to pick a number?"
Yeah.
And we'll go through the Tao. It's a fun little thing I do.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's how this all came about. I've been doing this for probably a couple decades now, maybe less than 2 decades, but 15, 17 years, something like that.
Oh, like with the cards.
Yeah. See, same birthday, like all sorts of crazy
We're practically
crazy idiosyncrasies between you and I.
we're soul twins.
Yeah, we're sharing chakras somewhere.
I know. All right. I won't
All
keep
right.
her, but I love
Yeah.
my of the day, my dear.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. It means a lot. Like and that more people are coming on. Like all my buddies come on. You,
Yeah.
Allison, Andy, like a couple other people that are regulars, and that's amazing. And then like today, Bella came on. She's been listening for a while, so that's really nice. It's nice to know that like what I'm offering is being received.
I know yesterday was kind of a slow wisdom day for me.
Yeah,
Was
I
kind of like,
think I did my Tao of the day early, and then just kind of tapped out. I don't even think I opened wisdom after that.
I
It's like I
haven't
think,
with Andy either besides on Tao of the Day.
oh. Yeah, she does. She has really great. I like the way she speaks off the cuff, and she's really like really quick and witty, and that's how she produces her podcast. She does the Get the Fuck Off podcast,
Yeah.
and and it's all about like people getting off their ass and doing something. It relates a lot. Like if I were to speak about it, I'd be like, I say it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not do anything about it. Like she takes that second part and like runs with it, right? That whole idea of like, hey, what are you going to do now that you're not happy with this? Like she's about to leave her her steady jobs and the things that have been reliable, so she can do her work, and she's moving, showing that outside, like from the outside in, and she's just like an orator. She just speaks really well. Like,
Oh, nice. Yeah, I just haven't. I follow her, but I just never seem to catch her
yeah, I don't know that she's super active on here, but I think she's getting more so. So
because she's a marathon runner. That's why I can't catch her.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And she's gonna be running the New York Marathon this weekend. So like, she's gonna. Maybe she should turn wisdom on and then just speak to everybody as she's running through it, so everybody knows what it's like.
Yeah.
Like that'd be like, I mean, I don't know how long it takes to run a marathon. I think like 6 hours maybe. I have no idea.
12 hours.
Um, and should be like all those people that are on wisdom, just like, I'm just gonna be on here for 24 hours so I get a lot of it, a lot of hits, but
Yes. And there's people that I hear that just play their podcast into wisdom.
yeah, yeah, and yeah,
So, I mean, hearing her huff and puff, I think would be fine.
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. I'm
Um, all right. Well, you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for joining me, and and we'll be in touch.
sending love. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, and look at this. We have Damien. Did I not take Damien? Did I send him away? Oh, I might have sent Damien away. There he is. No, here he is. Damien, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. Did you want to participate in Tao of the Day?
It's funny. I came in while you were chatting with Catherine. I'm a fan of Catherine. I'm also a fan of Taoism, and I read a Taoist meditation book daily. But I have no
Oh,
idea what this space is about. So I thought, if Catherine's up here chatting, Martin, you seem like a good guy. Let's
no.
let's go, man. Fill me in.
So
What do I need to know?
first, just pick a number between 1 and 81.
13.
13. So what I do is I come on and I ask people to come on and pick a number, and this is your Tao for the day, and then we'll go. I'll read it through, and then we'll go through it line by line and run it down.
Fantastic. Can I ask why 81?
There's only 81 verses in the Tao.
Perfect.
Yeah. So like I mean, I guess I could go to 100, but then anybody that picked anything over 81, I wouldn't have anything to say.
Just keep reading 81 over and over again.
Yeah. Success is as dangerous as failure, and hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Well, whether you go up or down a ladder, your position is always shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms. They arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. Any initial thoughts on that for you?
So many. So many. I think there's there's a beautiful acknowledgement about hope and fear that I like a lot there, which is that, they're both kind of this, we have to put faith in them, but most people choose to put faith in fear, which is, I've always found interesting. And hope is a lot of the same. I don't know the friend you were chatting about who likes to take action, but that's definitely my stance on life is, okay, you're hopeful. That's great. But what are you going to do to make that hope become reality? And I think that, when you start accepting the duality of hope and fear, of success and failure, of self and not, we have this beautiful opportunity to recognize all the different facets of who we are as equally important and meaningless all at the same time. And I'm a fan of that. So yeah, those are
Yeah.
my initial thoughts.
Yeah, like that, just like existing in that neutrality, not trying to be like, this is good, this is bad. It's just like, no, this is.
Right.
And that's the space that we can really embrace and that we can kind of be within. So, yeah, at this point, we'll just kind of go through it. And success is as dangerous as failure. Like, what
Yeah.
a wonderful way of, because so many people are like, success is good, failure is bad, right? But like, no, they're equally dangerous. And dangerous for a number of different reasons, right? Like, and there is a verse in the Tao that says like, which is more destructive, success or failure, right? And so bringing that into the scenario as well, this idea that like, oh, just because you succeed doesn't mean you're doing less damage.
Right. And the truth is that neither success or failure is destructive. It's all what we do with it.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. It's what we do with it and how we perceive it and how we
Right.
define it, because success and failure, I interviewed someone for my podcast recently, Ken Bain, we were talking about super courses and education. And we were like, we provide more punishment for people who have tried and not yet succeeded than we do for people who haven't tried at all.
Yeah. I
Like
like
this
that.
idea that like, hey, failure is not a permanent thing and neither is success. It is only now in this moment that exists. And so, I like to kind of look at like, you don't praise people from succeeding. You don't damn people from failing. What you do is you support people that continue to grow, whether they experience either of those things.
I think that's a beautiful stance. I was having a conversation not that long ago about the difference between achievement and success. And it became evident to me that we can all agree on the standard of achievement, but success is very subjective.
Right.
And I think to that same point, obviously cut from the same cloth, so is failure. I've fallen on my face too many times to count. I've lost competitions. I've um, you know I've quote unquote failed by a lot of people's definition a lot in my life, but not by mine.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I'm still here. I got back up. I
You've
kept
perceived that
going. Right.
you've persevered through that.
Well, I always prefer to, as much as possible, and usually as quickly as possible, I try and solidify the lesson in
Right.
in the quote unquote failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also in the success,
Yeah.
because it's not just about like basking in the glory. It's about recognizing, what have I learned in the process. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
That's
like that.
beautiful. Yeah. So
Thanks,
then
man.
we continue. Like, what does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up or down the ladder, your position is shaky.
Yeah, because you're still on a ladder,
Right. Right.
and
When
you're
you
still.
stand, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, the thing that popped into my head is like, if you're still measuring by success or failure, then chances are you're missing at least part of the point. And I think that what it's saying is, no matter which rung of the ladder you're on, a ladder is a precarious thing to be on,
Yeah.
regardless of if you're going up or down, right? And so if you're on the ladder, choosing to engage in this barometer of going up towards success or down towards failure, in
Beautiful.
what I guess would be most people's version of things, right?
Right.
It, if you're choosing to engage in that, then like that's a beautiful thing to engage in for a period of time, but that's not the measure of life, and it's definitely not the measure of stability. And so, it's precarious no matter if you're at the top or the bottom.
Right. And whether you're going up or down, like just being on the ladder itself is engaging in something that is unnatural to our state. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. So
Right.
just being okay with being here on the ground.
Just being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man.
Right.
That is
Just
beautiful.
just
What a great way to.
being, as
Yes. What.
opposed to being on a ladder, right? Like,
Right.
oh, I have a choice. Oh, let me put my feet down. Thanks.
That's so nice. Such a great way to go through that one. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms. They arise from thinking of the self. Now you
Yeah.
addressed this earlier really beautifully when you were saying like so many people like put their faith in that fear. They put so much energy and so much power in that fear. And the thing is when they come out of the fear, what they do is they tend to embrace hope, which is just the other side of the same coin. So it's the same problem persisting.
So I'm gonna poke a bear here for a second. Maybe pick a scab for somebody that's listening. I'm not a fan of most dogmatic religions, mainly because most
Are
dogmatic.
you a fan of some?
I'm a fan
Because
of
if so, I'd
pieces.
like to know which one.
Yeah, right. I'm a
Before you
fan
finish
of
the
pieces
statement.
of many. I'm a
Okay.
fan of pieces of many. I
Okay.
think that there's a lot to be learned from
There's a lot
anyone
of
who's
history there. A lot of
a
history.
lot of history, right? And a lot of a lot of moral navigation can be done
Yeah.
if you don't allow yourself to be stuck in the fear of the dogma, right?
Right. Like
And
I think dogma in general is something that like I can easily say no. I'm not down for any dogma. So
yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page.
yeah.
I also try to be as open as possible, right? Like I've learned a ton from reading the Bible, from reading the Torah, from reading, like I like to dive in. I will not say that I've read every religion out there. That'd be absurd. And nor am I an expert in any of them. And I've read a lot. And the thing that I try and stay open to is to learn the lessons without getting trapped by the part the part that I disagree with, right?
Right.
And and so when we're talking about hope and fear, you talk about somebody comes out of fear and into hope. For me, a lot of what most dogmatic religions supply for its audience, for its practitioners, is the ability to let go of control.
Mm.
They don't have to be responsible for all the things because God is, or Allah is, or whatever, right? I don't
Yeah.
have to think about my stance on it because my book tells me this is the rule, therefore that is.
Yeah.
And in some regards, I think there's a lot of people out there that have been addicted to other things, that become addicted to their religion, and I'd much prefer that than anything destructive. And
I'm sorry. Didn't we just start with like we did start with the idea that like destruction is like religion is destructive. I don't like so I'm coming out of I have 20 years clean and sober. So
okay,
like but
congratulations.
yeah, but when like I don't know that heroin is any more like I think heroin is probably less destructive than Christianity.
On an individual basis or a global basis, right? That'll be the barometer. But I don't,
Yeah, like
I've never done heroin, so I can't speak to that. But
right.
I can say that. um, I think that anytime that we give up our ability to change the outcome, we're missing a piece of the puzzle. And I think that's
Right.
what hope does. That's also what fear does, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I've spent a long time, I actually gave a talk about fear. Like fear doesn't really resonate with me because I learned a long time ago that I can take the feeling of fear and just one step to the left, and all of a sudden it becomes excitement.
That's right. That's right.
And I was taught at just the perfect age where I understood enough of the gravity of the statement without it becoming overwhelming, that the only permanent decisions in life are starting or ending a life, and everything else you can change your mind about. Which also meant if I wasn't gonna die, then all right, I'll get to live another day. And therefore I started fearing less, because that was the barometer. Oh, is this choice going to kill me? No? Okay, then it's an easy choice to make. I don't need to fear this. And that's that's kind of my relationship with hope and fear. I've never really lumped hope in there with it. I don't really talk about hope either, probably because they are very similar, and I don't get down with that.
Right. You have healed your relationship with fear, so you don't need hope. You don't need to experience the other side of that coin. And that's a beautiful thing. And so, I look at, something that you said. Oh man, I lose things so easily sometimes in my mind.
The flow, man.
Yeah, no, it's just, and sometimes it's like, well, it's lost and it's fine. Like, no big deal. But it was good. I'm going to tell you right now, you should be impressed.
I am
Good.
already.
Look at
I
that.
felt it. Yep. All right.
So this wraps up. I know we only have a little bit, but I'm going to read these last 4 lines and then we'll just wrap this up. See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things.
Yeah, man.
Like, I can be here. If I love the world as me, and I understand that it is me, then I can be here and love you. And I can allow you to be you without having fear or hope or this is what I hope you do, this is what I'm afraid you're going to do. All of that stuff can fall away because I trust that you are, because I am.
Well, the beauty is that we all are,
That's
right?
right.
We all are connected. We're not separate from one another. We are. There's collective energy, collective consciousness. We could take it down to the science of the fact that we're mostly made of water, and every drop of water that's here now has been here since the beginning of our planet. Like, we're all connected. We're all part of it, and I think that there's beauty in that for sure. Thanks for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. Man, what a good Tao of the day. What a wonderful Tao of the day. I appreciate each and every one of you that have come on. Damien, you should also know that I think there is a past Tao of the day where I went through number 13 with Catherine, your buddy. So I think there's a lot there. I really appreciate each and every one of you for listening. Once again, this is a Recover Yourself production. I'm your host, Martin John. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.